Hi, fifth grade. Let's take a look at reviewing our quarter one reading work sample. One area where people struggled the most was using evidence to support your answer. There were a couple of short answer questions, and this was really where most people either got full points or got very few. There wasn't a whole lot of in between. Um, we're going to talk about what that means to use evidence to support your answer and what we're looking for when we have these types of questions. You'll have the opportunity to increase your score a little bit. If you didn't quite meet the necessary criteria for these types of questions, you'll have the opportunity to write another one and turn that into increase your grade. So I pulled one question off of our work sample. I know it's been a little while, but if you think back, we read two passages, the nightly journey and closing credits. And there was a question, this was the one worth the most points on our work sample, that said, how are the themes and topics of the nightly journey and closing credits similar, and how are they different? Answer using complete sentences. Be sure to address each element of the question. Use examples from the story to support your response. There's a few really key pieces in this question. First, it asks for information about the themes and topics of both stories. How are they similar and how are they different? You need to use complete sentences. And you need to address each element of the question using examples from that story to support. Okay, that's a lot of things to remember. So the reason this was worth 8 points is because there were so many different things to look at here. Did you share how they were similar and how they were different? Did you use complete sentences? I had some responses that were 2 or 3 words, which is not a complete sentence and certainly doesn't address all of the parts of this question. There were some people that shared something that was similar, but maybe not something that was different, or vice versa. Or maybe you just wrote one sentence and you didn't support that using any examples. When we use examples from the text, it doesn't mean we have to quote it perfectly, although we can. That's one way that you can use an example. You could also restate a point from the story to help support your response. Let's look at a few examples of other student work. These are from students in our class that did receive full credit to see what are we looking for on these types of questions. Looking at this first response here. These stories are the same in a lot of ways because they both give a good picture of what is happening with their details. Both had someone tricking them. Okay, see a similarity so far? In the nightly journey, the mom teases them. She grinned before lunging at them. Her arms were spread wide and her hands curled like claws. That's an example from the text. This person chose to quote it exactly. So they gave their similarity and supported it with something from the text. Let's read on. While in the closing credits, here's another quote. Once again, prankster Bobby had zapped someone, and this time it was me. So that similarity is they were both being teased. The girls were teased by their mom. The boy was teased by Bobby. Then the student goes on to say they are different because the nightly journey is written in third person, telling how a lot of the characters felt. And the closing credits is written in first person, giving you a clear idea about how Hank felt. So the difference that they mentioned was the point of view, first and third person here. So they got similarity, they got differences, they supported with examples from the text. Let's look at our next response here. The nightly journey and closing credits are the same because both characters are being forced to do something they don't want to do. There's a similarity. And the example that this student used, they contained it all in that one sentence. Both the characters are being forced to do something they don't want to do. You're restating that part from the text. Restating in their own words, but that still works. The way the nightly journey and closing credits are different is because one has all boys, they told which one, that was closing credits, and one has all girl characters, that was the Nightly Journey. So they addressed a similarity and a difference, and they supported that with things from the text. One more here. The ways they're similar is that one, the sisters get pranked by their mother, and in the other one, the siblings get pranked together. So they're both about siblings. Two, both stories are taking place somewhere that is fun to go to. The ways they're different, one, the first is taking place in a cabin and the other is at the movies. So even though they listed that similarity, those are both fun places to go. The places themselves, the settings were different. Two, they list a second difference here. The characters in the first one are 3 daughters and a mother, and the other is 2 brothers and a father. So they noted that while they were different types of characters, even though that they were pranked together and they were fun places to go, here's their differences as well. So these are some good examples of how to respond to these types of questions. Notice that the shortest one is still, it's only 2 sentences, but it's a couple of lines of text. These short answer questions, you should expect to write a few sentences here. A short paragraph even, as noted in these first and third examples. If you only write a couple of words, you're not going to be getting full credit on these. There's a lot of things to address, and that takes a couple of sentences to do so. You can see this student was very concise, but they still met all of those criteria. They still filled out all the different parts that the question was asking, and they were able to do it even just in 2 sentences. So it doesn't have to be a full novel. If you have lots of things to share like this first student, great. If yours is more concise, but still meets all the parts of the question, that is absolutely okay. But make sure that we are at least putting forth our best efforts to share some similarities and details and support that with evidence from the text. I hope this helps, guys. Go give that one more try. Read through, there's 2 short passages and a question that's going to ask you to compare their similarities and differences using support from the text.